a little introduction from you for our listeners. Who are you and what have you done so far?
Sure. My name is Sid De La Cruz. I'm a composer. I've just recently finished a video game. Uh, I really can't talk too much about it, just because the game is still hasn't been released. So it's being worked on. Um, but the latest thing I've worked on was a documentary called "Where's the Soul." It's about R&B and soul music. That should be coming out soon. I believe sometime in the fall. I believe it's going to be released, I think, on Amazon. I believe once I guess find more information on that, I could let give you an update on it. But yeah, that's kind of the most recent things that I've worked on.
Great. Please tell us something about your musical education.
Sure. Growing up, I didn't think about becoming a composer. I thought about becoming a doctor. And then that kind of changed as I started to grow up and started to kind of go through school and realize that I started taking classes and I started realizing that I started to fall in love with music, which is then I decided to take the music path. So I went to San Jose State University where I graduated with my composition degree. There I studied classical music, jazz, African drumming, gamelan, electronic music, all that kind of stuff. Graduating, I got a fellowship to study from a graduate university, where I also studied composition. Kind of towards my last semester of my master's degree, I was going to UCLA where I was studying film scoring. So it's a lot of schooling.
Have you personal or musical idols, and who are they?
Oh yeah, of course. I guess I have a lot. I guess if we're talking about film music, I mean, I guess the common ones: Hans Zimmer, John Williams, Danny Elfman, and among others. But I guess if we're talking about other music, I guess I have too many to mention. But I guess each genre would have its own kind of musical heroes. But yeah, film music, those would probably be like the top three. And of course, I have other ones who are making music now. But yeah, those would probably be kind of like my top three.
Have you a favorite instrument within or outside an orchestra to play or to compose for?
Not really. My instrument is guitar. That's kind of what I learned in college and what I ended up playing. But if I had to do things all over again, I think I would choose percussion. I really like percussion and in drumming and that kind of thing, rhythm. I really enjoy that. So I don't have any particular instrument that I like composing for, but I really do like percussion.
Great. What is for you the fascination of film music?
Film music. It's the fact that you could kind of, I guess, tell a story and I guess evoke an emotion, a feeling that kind of it makes you feel something. That's kind of what got me into film music. I used to kind of just listen to music and it used to make me feel a certain way, whether it was happy, sad, mad, whatever feeling it was. It gave me that feeling. Music was giving me that feeling, and that's something that really kind of drew me into it. And that's kind of like what I like to do, to kind of share those same, I guess, feelings or emotions that could, hopefully evoke in the listener.
What is inspiring you?
That's a good question. To be honest with you, Uh, a lot of times I do not get inspiration, just because there's deadlines that I have to meet. So uh, I don't have the luxury of like, let's say a Beethoven or Mozart, where they're able to go out to the forest and kind of, think and kind of just walk around and get inspiration. I don't have that luxury. A lot of times these projects have to be done pretty quick, so inspiration doesn't really come to me in that way. It has to. I basically have to compose quick. So I guess my inspiration would be, I guess, my bag of tools, the things that I've kind of learned throughout my education that will kind of help me evoke certain moods or feelings that I want to do. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, if I want to, I guess, make people feel sad or something, through my education, I kind of learned that, okay, if I do this, this, and this, and this, is going to help me get that mood or feeling. And that's kind of my, I guess, quote unquote, inspiration that I get from, I kind of really pull out from my bag of tools and stuff that I've learned in the past. So I guess that's really more of my inspiration.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So what do you think, is composing an art or a craft?
Well, I believe it's both. It's if the music, I guess, could stand on its own. For instance, if you're to play the music and away from the movie, and if it still gives you an emotion, if it still gives you a feeling, then yeah, that's art. It got the job done. So I believe it's both. It can go both ways, because it does take certain skills to compose music, and that's the craft of it. And it's yes, it's both. I believe it's both.
What do you think is the best thing about composing?
The best thing about it, I believe, is the emotion, the feeling that I'm able to project. So the fact that I have control over your feelings, the fact that I can make you feel sad, happy, angry, emotional, whatever the feeling it may be, I have control over that. And I think that's probably the best thing about film scoring, that I have the ability to do that to a person. It's amazing, it's great.
Yeah. Wow. And yeah, is there something that makes it less fun for you?
Yeah, no, of course, yeah. I mean, but like any profession, there's always good and there's the bad. So this one here, sometimes there's filmmakers that really want things their way, which is fine, I mean, of course, but to the point where sometimes they're not willing to, I guess, collaborate. It's more of kind of micromanaging, they kind of tell you what to do, how to do it, when to do it, why to do it, all these kind of little things, and they don't let the composer kind of really, I guess, really stand out. There's a reason why you hire that specific composer, Mm-hmm. So kind of just trust in the composer and let him or her, do their job instead of micromanaging. That's something that I'm not a fan of, even though it comes with the territory. And not all directors are that way, but there are some that do that. Yeah, I think that would be it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do you like or enjoy writing whole themes for characters or settings, or do you try more to describe the mood of a particular movie or project?
Okay. Well, I like doing both. I guess it really depends on the director, on what they want. There's some directors that do not want themes, and some directors that just want kind of, like a mood, a texture of music. Mm-hmm. And then there's some other ones that do want a theme. They do want something a musical phrase that represents a figure in the music. I'm sorry, in the movie. So I like doing both. They're both great. They're both challenging, but it really kind of depends on what the director's looking for, what they want. Yeah.
Oh. And yet, it's always very interesting to know how a composer works in order to get the finished score at the end. So, how are your work steps? What to start with and what to do afterwards?
Well, I first start off by looking at the picture. I always, look at the movie, and I see the whole entire thing, of course, without music. And then as the movie goes on, the scenes go by. I'm reading them and getting an idea. Okay, this is what I'm going to do here. This is what I'm going to do here. Oh, I think this would be great here. And I kind of like start getting ideas as the movie's being played. So once the movie's finished, that's when I go back and start from scene one, and start composing. There's some composers that do not work in order. For instance, they might jump from one scene to the last scene to the middle scene, and that's how they work. Not me. I work in order. So I work from scene one to scene two, scene three, and I just kind of move forward that way. I work linear. And so after that, I start composing music for the scene, and sometimes in that process there's a lot of trial and error. I write something, nope, this doesn't work, so I throw it away. Do something else, nope, that doesn't work, throw it away. Or maybe the tempo's too fast, I have to slow it down. Or maybe the tempo's too slow, I have to speed it up. Or nope, this instrument isn't working right, I have to switch it out. And there's a lot of trial and error until I get things right at the very beginning. And then as the movie progresses, things become a little bit easier. It's not easy, but it becomes a little bit easier because I already have something to work off of.
And yeah, is the work different when you compose for a video game?
It is. It really is. Just because I guess the most important thing to kind of take away when working with video games is the fact that music loops in video games, whereas in movies it really doesn't. So what I mean by looping is that the music in video games, you have maybe about 3 minutes to 4 minutes, worth of music, and then the music starts all over again. So in order for you to make that happen, you kind of have to kind of edit your music in a way where the music starts off and loops in seamlessly. Because sometimes if you don't do that and you make the music loop, it can sound abrupt and it doesn't sound very musical. So you kind of have to figure out ways to kind of start in your music and figure out how to make the music loop. That is the more, I guess, the thing that kind of really stands out about video games, which can be a little tricky. So it's just kind of playing around with that and making sure that I guess that it loops, so everything could kind of flow seamlessly.
Oh yeah, that looping, I know from video games, and so sometimes it's a little bit annoying. So same theme when the battle is on, and so yeah. And a few games, the first thing I do is to turn the music off. So yeah. So one of the few games I let the music play is Ori and the Blind Forest. So yeah.
Okay.
That's a great example. Beautiful game and music. How much time do you get for a movie or game?
Well, it really depends on the production. So, for instance, on the video game, I had let me see here. I had about 4 months working on the video game, and that's actually I guess for a video game, because video games are I guess in constant development, meaning that they might send me one level and I'll be doing the music for that. And while I'm working on the music, the game developers are working on the next level. And so with video games, it takes a little bit longer to complete. Whereas a movie, they typically, at least from my experience, I haven't had a lot of time to work on them. Maybe about a month and a half. Now there have been some movies where I have been giving maybe like 2 or 3 months, which is really nice, and that's ideal for a composer. That kind of gives you enough time to kind of really dive in and explore your options, and kind of gives you more elbow room to be creative. But yeah, there have been times where I don't get a lot of time. I get maybe about a month's worth, and I have to kind of deliver a full movie in a month, which is not a lot. If you kind of think about it, you're basically composing about 20 minutes of music a week. That's a lot of music.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How big is the influence and the pressure from producers and directors when you're writing?
Well, fortunately, I guess from every movie would vary, but the ones that I've worked on, fortunately, I've only had to deal with the director themselves. So I only have to communicate with one person, which is perfect because I'm not getting, ideas from this person, ideas from that person, and then sometimes they clash. So no, I'm not getting that. I'm only getting the idea. So a lot of times, they tell me, hey, they said, this is what I want. I want the music to sound like this. I want it to have this emotion. I want it to give this, and so then they gave me that information. I come back to compose the music. I send it to them, and that's basically how it works. It's a lot of give and take. I do something, send it over. If they like it, great. I continue. If they don't, I come back and do a revision and get it and work on it until I get it right.
Wow, it's great here. I read you have been awarded by the BMI Jerry Goldsmith Film Scoring Award. What can you tell about this? And yeah, of course, congratulations.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was, let's see here, that was, I believe it was 2013. So I was, made aware that there was a scholarship for for film scoring. So I applied, and I submitted my music. I had to submit the sheet music and the music, and I'm not sure exactly how many people submitted, but I remember coming out of the gym one day, and I kind of looked at my phone. I got an email, and I got an email from BMI. It's like, oh, what is this? So then I looked at it and I started reading it, and it said that I was awarded the scholarship, and I was I found out, and I was so happy. Like, I've never won anything, so that really kind of made me really happy, and I really enjoyed it, and yeah, that's it was an amazing feeling.
And you also were you made participate at the Bleeding Fingers contest. How was it? Did you win something?
Yeah, the Bleeding Fingers contest. So the Bleeding Fingers contest, that was the I guess it was a contest from Hans Zimmer that he kind of put out. And he basically gave out stems, or just musical examples of he basically wanted for us to do you can think of it like a remix. He wanted us to do a remix of the music, and he basically wanted to kind of find someone who could do something different. I didn't win. I wish I did, but I didn't. But it was a great experience. It kind of, there's a lot of people who enter the competition, and each individual person had a different take on Hans Zimmer's music, which was, it's really amazing to see all the possibilities that there are to create music. It was a great experience, but unfortunately I didn't win.
What would be your absolute dream project?
My absolute dream project. Well, let's see here. I really like I really like action movies, action movies, thrillers, that kind of stuff. I like all types of movies, but those are kind of really like my favorite, you know.
Mhm.
So I would, in an ideal world, I would maybe like to score maybe like a James Bond movie or like a Mission Impossible or something like that, something espionage, something, something along the lines of that. I think that would be great.
Mhm. Wow. So what are you thinking about the modern film music industry?
Well, the modern film industry, I actually like it. There's so much, um, and there's a lot of different things. There's composers who strictly stick to, electronic music. You know, there's composers who kind of just stick more to the traditional side,
Mhm.
and then there's, the orchestral side, and then there's composers who kind of fusion both electronic and the orchestral. And that's kind of my style. I kind of like doing both, even though um, there's projects where I've done strictly electronic, strictly orchestral, or fusion of both. Um, but there's I actually kind of like the way film music is going. Is a lot of variety, and I think that's something that is great because out of that variety could spark inspiration, could spark new ideas, could even spark new ways of coming up with music. So I personally think it's great. I like it. I like it, and I hope it continues to grow.
Oh yeah. What are your favorite movies?
My favorite movies would probably be the James Bond, Mission Impossible movies.
Mm.
I do like I do like the Indiana Jones series,
Mm-hmm.
and of course Star Wars. And I guess the Marvel movies. Those are all great too. Um, I guess there's a lot that I like, but I think those would probably be like on my top uh, on my top of my list.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you are looking forward to the new Indiana Jones?
Oh yeah, yeah. I heard that there's a new one coming out,
Mm-hmm.
and I think John Williams is doing it. If
Mm-hmm.
not, I hope he is. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to the new show. Hello?
Yeah. Ah. So yeah, it was a little sound error.
Yeah.
Um. Ah, I hate computers. Um. So yeah, so you're looking forward to Bond and Indiana Jones and so the new movies.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I can't wait for those to come out. I'm excited for those.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm too. So especially for Indiana Jones. So I love the fourth movie, and so yeah, I'm looking very forward to the fifth. What are your current projects, if you can tell?
Well, right now I'm kind of in the works of potentially working on a movie with George Lopez, with um, uh, John Cusack, Taye Diggs, and Luke Hemsworth.
Hmm.
Now, that movie, it really isn't. I guess it's not really set in stone. So I'm working on getting that movie. So we'll see what happens. Um, so yeah, keeping my fingers crossed for that one.
Hmm. Too. So wow, one little thing before the end. I call five terms, and you tell me, well, just briefly what comes to your mind.
Okay.
Film music.
Orchestra.
Wow. So the second would be orchestra.
Orchestra. Let's see here. Conductor.
Hmm. So well, perhaps something easy. Favorite meal.
Pizza.
Hmm. Hollywood.
Hollywood sign.
Hmm. And hobbies.
Hobbies. Gym. Outdoors.
Hmm. That was it. And so thanks for the interview.
Thanks for inviting me to the show.